Hi, I'm Bridget, and thank you so much for joining me today for day 13 of 30 days of 10 minutes of yoga. And we're going to get started today in our downward facing dog. So we'll make our way through our tabletop, so coming onto the hands and the knees. We'll walk the hands forward just an inch or two, curl the toes under, and then press to lift the knees away from our mat and send the hips back. Pedaling out the feet when you get there. Bending into the knees, really pressing nice and strong through the arms, so pressing the chest back towards the tops of the thighs. You can give those knees a nice generous bend here so that you can really flatten out through the spine. And we find the breath, finding a little bit of movement, and then finding stillness. And then on an inhale, we're going to look forward between the hands and then go for a nice slow walk up towards the top edge of our mat. We find our forward fold. Tags out. Hinging at the hips here, so give the knees another nice generous bend so that you can round the upper body forward over the legs, pressing down into all four corners of the feet. Give the head a little shake here, breathing into the backs of the legs. You might like to clasp opposite elbows and go for a little sway from side to side. Staying with the breath. Maybe closing down the eyes here. And then on an inhale, we'll find our halfway lift. So trace the hands up the front of the legs, flattening out through the spine. We hinge at the hips, draw the shoulders away from the ears. Take a nice deep breath here. And exhale, we fold it forward. Taking a nice deep breath in our forward fold. Exhale, we let it go. From here, we're going to find our pyramid pose. So we're going to ground down through the right foot and then just step that left foot back, just like a nice, comfortable step. So you don't want to take the legs too far apart. We want both feet facing forward here, about hip width distance apart. And then we're going to hinge from the hips again here. So you can bring a nice little bend into that right knee as we start to lift the chest and bring the hands to the hips. So again, see if you can start to send the chest forward. We want to keep both hips in line. So if you notice that left hip starts drawing backwards, we're going to try and keep them in line as we find our pyramid pose. So you can either stay here with the hands on the hips, or if that feels like too much, just bring the hands back down onto your mat for support. Or if you've got some blocks or something to help you balance, you might like to hold onto a wall here. This can feel like quite a deep stretch through the back of that right leg. See if you can press into both feet equally here. And then we're going to make our way back to into our triangle pose. So if you've got the hands on the hips, we're just going to bring them down onto the mat. We're going to pivot on that left foot and then heel toe, and a little bit wider. Keep that right knee, so we're going to straighten into the right knee and then bring the right hand to the right shin and then reach up toward the sky with the left hand. We find our triangle pose. So we're going to try and stay in one nice long line here. So pressing the hips forward, we've got the body in line with that right leg. Reaching up, you can either keep that right hand on the shin or down towards your mat, or you might like to hover the fingertips just above the mat to activate through the core a little bit here. And then slowly we're going to bring the bend into that right knee and make our way to our warrior two. You might need to adjust the feet a little bit here. Reaching out nice and wide with the arms. Pressing that right knee open. Check in with the hips here. So you might need to tuck that tailbone under a little bit. Press the right hip forward and open that right knee. From here, we'll find our peaceful warrior. So flip the right palm, send the fingertips forward, up and back. And then we cartwheel the arms down to frame that right foot. Step the right foot back to meet the left, and we move through our chaturanga. So lowering halfway, hug the elbows in towards the body. We flip onto the tops of the feet, open up through heart space. Keep those knees lifted away from the mat. And exhale, make our way back to downward facing dog. Pedaling out the feet. Pressing the chest back, find the breath. And finding stillness. We inhale, look forward between the hands. Go for that nice slow walk up towards the top edge of your mat. Hinge at the hips, give those knees a nice generous bend. Maybe go for a little sway from side to side. And then when you're ready, we'll find our halfway lift. Trace the hands up the front of the legs. Hinge at the hips. We flatten out through the spine. Draw the shoulders away from the ears. Nice deep breath in here. And exhale, we fold it forward. When you're ready, we'll find our pyramid pose on the other side. So we are going to step the right foot back this time, just like you're taking a normal step back. We've got both sets of toes pointing forward. You can either stay here with the fingertips down towards your mat. Otherwise, we start to hinge from the hips and bring the hands up to the hips, sending the chest forward. So that might mean that you've got the chest lifted a little bit more so that you can stay nice and flat through the spine as you start to send the chest forward. You can keep that nice little bend into the left knee. Make sure those hips are both pointing forward. And then if you've got the hands on the hips, we're going to bring them back down to the mat. We're going to pivot on that right foot. So turn the outside edge of that right foot parallel with the short edge of your mat. And then just open that legs up a little bit more. So walk that right foot open a little bit more. We straighten through the left leg and we find our triangle pose. So you can bring the left hand to the left shin and then inhale to open that right hand up towards the sky. See if you can stack the right shoulder above the left. Keep the hips pressing forward. You can either keep the left hand on the shin. You might like to reach down towards the mat or hover the fingertips. Breathing deeply here. Keep the chest pressing open, so drawing that right shoulder back. And then we'll make our way into our warrior two. So bring the bend back into that left knee. And then we send the arms out to either side, bringing the chest back up to stack above the hips. Looking out past those left fingertips. Nice bend into that left knee. Check in with the hips. Make sure you've got that tailbone tucking down, the hips pressing forward. And then we'll flip the left palm, send the fingertips forward, up and back. Nice opening through the left side body. A peaceful warrior. And then on an exhale, let's cartwheel the arms down to frame that left foot. Step the left foot back to meet the right, and we move through our chaturanga. So exhale to lower halfway. We press up into our upward facing dog. And then exhale back to our downward facing dog. Find the breath here. Pedal it out through the feet. And we find stillness. And then you can drop the knees down towards the mat. We'll find our wide-legged child's pose from here. So let's walk the knees as wide as our yoga mat. Bring the big toes together and then sink the hips down towards the heels. Reach the arms out long in front of you. Come back to the breath. You can close down the eyes here. Opening up through the shoulders, reaching through the arms, pressing the hips back, opening up through the hips and the legs. And you might like to stay here for a little while longer. Otherwise, we'll slowly make our way into a nice seated position to close our practice. So whatever feels best for you here. Closing down the eyes, taking another moment of stillness. Let the shoulders drop away from the ears, sitting up nice and tall. And then we'll take a breath together here to close our practice. So inhaling the hands up and overhead, bringing the palms together. Exhale, bringing the hands together at heart space. We bow through the head. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. Namaste.